Awesome. Yeah, I just start out kind of where we are right now with our guys. They've been back for a couple weeks, few weeks, and with Coach Nico and his staff doing our winter program, it's been fun to watch our guys work out and compete out in the field. As you guys know, you see, we've got a lot of new players, 22 transfers, I believe 14 high school early enrollees that came in. So I think the big part of our offseason right now is getting to know each other and just having a connection. I think that's going to be huge. As we talked about, one of the things I mentioned with the Super Bowl, you see the Seahawks ended up winning. I've heard a lot of comments from their players about how connected this team was, and I think that is a huge piece of being a good football team, especially with all the moving parts. You got 100 and some guys, man, and 11 guys are going to play, but how they connect with each other and how to go out and play as one, I think it's going to be critical for us. That'll be a big theme for us this offseason. So a lot of good players, excited about these guys that are getting in here, and we're just getting to know them now. Seeing how they operate, seeing how they work. I think but it's been fun to see. And several new coaches that have come in. I mentioned one here, Coach Woody. Coach Woody, I first came across Coach Woody back when he was the defense coordinator at Wofford many years ago in the Southern Conference, and he did a great job at Wofford. I thought with maybe some lesser caliber players at Wofford, but they were always in contention in the Southern Conference. And so when I got the head job at App back in 2013, I felt like he was one of the guys I needed to go talk to, and ended up hiring him to come coach at App State, where I felt like we had better players. I felt like, okay, well, if we can do that scheme and what they're doing there at Wofford, and they're having success with better players, man, I feel like we can come into the Sun Belt and really do some great things. Because we were transitioning from the Southern Conference to the Sun Belt at that point in time, and it really paid off. We ended up having an outstanding defense. I believe Coach Woody was with me there for maybe 5 or 6 years before he left to go to Georgia Tech. But some outstanding defenses there. Defensively, the scheme-wise, I think it's a 3-4, but you're always gonna bring at least 4 guys to the pressure at the quarterback. You can bring it from the field, from the boundary. It's very multiple defense. You can do a lot of different things with it. You can blitz. Literally any player on the field can get in the backfield, corners, safeties, all the linebackers. We were one of the top interception teams in the country. I think in a 4-year span, we led the country in interceptions. And for me, that's one thing we got to get much better at is interceptions. We were worst in the country last year in getting interceptions. I think that's going to be a main emphasis for us this year to improve our pass defense and particularly giving up big plays. But while also stopping the run, I think, Coach Woody's got great experience, been around a long time, and has been very good everywhere he's been coaching defenses. So it's a good time nowadays, I think, too. You bring in a new coordinator. Well, we got a lot of new defensive players. So there's a lot of guys that are coming in that'll be new for them. Some of the guys that are back, some of the linebackers, JT and Simeon and Moog, some of those guys that are coming back, obviously we'll have to learn the new scheme, but there's going to be a lot of additions that'll be coming in here. Guys like MJ Cannon from Bowling Green, I think he's looked really good so far. Ty Goodwell, Kenny Worthy, those guys have really shown out, I thought, so far within the workouts, and so it'll be fun to see. And as you think about the other guys, offensively, a lot of receivers that we brought in, we're excited about these guys. Running backs, basically a new running back room. Got Zion back, which we love Zion. I think he's going to be an outstanding player for us this year. But a lot of new players there. Probably the most stable position on our whole football team is probably offensive line, which is if you want to have one position that's stable, that's a good one to have. A lot of guys that are coming back, but also some guys that are really to emerge and become great players for us this year. So we're excited about that as well. So with that, I'll just open it up any questions.
Coach, what was it about the 3-3-5, that stack look that just didn't click here?
Yeah. We just didn't. I don't think we didn't interrupt the quarterback enough. I think that's probably the bottom line in those 2 years. I think we did some really good things defensively the last couple of years, but I think the one comment that I would say we needed to be better at was disrupting the quarterback. Because I think that's how you create turnovers. If you're making him throw the ball early, create some sack fumbles, or throw the ball into coverage, which we just didn't do that. And I think that was probably the biggest thing. And a part of that was. not getting enough pressure on the quarterback. And a lot of times, you're rushing 3 and you're dropping the 8 off. And, but I think in your mind, okay, if you're dropping 8, shouldn't you get more interceptions, man? Because there are 8 guys back there, but we didn't. Part of that was I thought we didn't catch the ball in defensive backfield very good. We knocked balls down instead of picking them off. I mean, you go back last year. I mean, in Nebraska game, the first game, it should have been a pick 6 on their sideline. We didn't catch it. So, but I think that's probably the biggest thing. It's just not getting enough, creating havoc in the backfield is probably the biggest thing.
People talk three-man front, 4-man front. This is kind of that back to that kind of hybrid look where technically there's 3, but the 4th guy is a stand-up, rush edge, whatever. How important is having that extra body at the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, I mean, it's important. I mean, I think people sometimes think about maybe read too much into it. Is it a 3 down or a 4 down or whatever? I mean, everybody's going to have some form of 3 down. Everybody we play, there's some form of 3 down that we play. More than anything, I think, all right, how are you utilizing those 11 guys? And obviously for us, we got to be more pressure. We got to have more guys to the line of scrimmage. But adding that 4th guy, whether it be that boundary stand-up, we call a dog that you're talking about, or bringing it from the field, bringing the Mike off the edge, or the Sam off the edge. I mean, it's really more philosophy in what you're teaching and how you're doing with your defense. And it comes down to your personnel too. I think as coaches, we got to find, all right, what's our personnel? What can they do? And then let's get them to do that very well. Don't ask them to do things they can't do. I mean, that's not smart. That's not being a good coach. So I think for us, it's about, all right, what can these guys do? And let's get them to do that at a high level.
When you look at the hire of Nate Woody, it feels like it checks a lot of boxes. You have the prior connection, and then there's the getting to the quarterback, and I think they had 18 interceptions in 2024. Yeah. Was it a short search? Like you went into the process knowing who you wanted, and you got your guy?
Yeah. I mean, it's ever since I coached with Nate, back at App. He went to Georgia Tech, went to Michigan with Harbaugh for a year, and then he's been at Army for the last 5 years and had great success there. I think for me, when we found out Tyson was leaving, first guy came into my mind was Nate Woody. A guy who I thought did a great job when he was with me before. And then to me, it was just a matter of can we get it done? And I think he enjoyed his time at Army and been there 5 years. They had great success there as well, and for an opportunity for him to come coach at the power level and be a coordinator, and I think was big for him. I mean, obviously you guys will talk to him about it, but it's a guy who I understand his defense, having been around that defense so long. When Nate left, we continued that defense with B. Brown, and then we took that to Louisville and did some great things there as well. I mean, our last year at Louisville, we led the country in sacks with 50. So this defense can produce sacks, it can produce interceptions, create turnovers. And really, quite honestly, I mean, Nate's the architect of the defense. He's been doing it for 20-some years. Texas Tech's defensive coordinator learned everything under Nate Woody, last year. They were one of the best defenses in the country. It works. Obviously, you got to have good players. You have to have the good players that can go out and make the plays. They're the ones that have to put pressure on the quarterback. They got to beat a tackle one-on-one and get to the quarterback, or, they have to intercept passes when the ball's thrown in their zone. So ultimately, the players have to make the plays. We just have to do a good job as coaches of putting them in positions to make the plays. And I think Coach Woody's got a great track record of that. And I think that's what we're going to see. I mean, I think we'll be an improved in a lot of aspects that we need to get better at.
Obviously, it's early in the process, but when you look at possibly who plays where, Antoine Peak is an interesting guy for this defense. Do you see him staying at safety, or is it a thing where he might drop down to one of the linebacker positions?
You're right. It's going to be interesting. Like, I don't want to put anybody in a box as we sit here today. Yeah, that's one of the things we've been talking about as a staff for the last couple of weeks. Like, all right, where do we just start these guys out at? What position? And I think that's going to be a question as we go through this. All right, because I think they're going to have to play multiple positions and really learn multiple positions. But to your point, I think our field. Sam, which we're going to call Cat. It's a Cat position, what we're going to call. We've called it some different things in the past, but that position is very flexible. Like, we put corners there. We put guys that are, linebacker type bodies, 6'3", 225, 230. I think that position we'll have different packages for that position. I guess what I'd say. So Peak, I could see him there. I could see him as a free safety, the boundary safety that you're going to spin down into the box to make some tackles there. I think there's some flexibility with that. obviously we got to figure out what these guys can do within the scheme and then put them in the best position to make plays.
Quarterback, tough losing a guy like Brendan and everything that he did, but you go out and get J.C. French, who's played a lot of football, all-time leading passer at Georgia Southern. What have you sensed from him as he's gotten to campus that makes you think, okay, along with him and O'Brien, that we went the right direction?
Yeah, I think JC, he brings a lot of confidence, as you mentioned. He's played a lot of football. He can throw the football. There's no question about it. If the ball comes off his hand in a nice way, great release, great spiral, great deep ball thrower. Just watching his film, I mean, he's dropping the ball in the bucket on down the field type throws. I think he's got a great presence about him. I think just talking to some of the teammates that were already here, they really like him and how his approach is. Obviously, going to be a very different type player than Sorsby. He's not as big, probably doesn't run as well as a Sorsby, but I think he's got great experience and throws a really nice football. So, that room obviously is going to be different. I think Samaj has got a lot more confidence now, the most he's ever had heading into the offseason after, just playing in a bowl game, and making some plays and taking us down and scoring, having a scoring drive. I think he'll compete for that job as well. And, I just think for all those guys in that room, I mean, they're going to be competing just like every other room. But I think J.C. French brings the most experience and really playing some good football.
Do you move those guys in with the wide receivers like a reality show? You had 3 wide receivers returning. This is the third year in a row that room's been almost a complete redo. How do you handle that? And like JC's got the quarterbacks have to sit with the wide receivers at lunch and dinner and.
Well, this is the first winter we've had the facility here. Thank goodness we do, because the last 3 weeks have been awful up here in Cincinnati. So I think for us to have this facility, they've been in there every day. And to your point, they got to get to know each other. They got to get on the same page. And I think this winter is going to be huge for them and the wide receivers and these quarterbacks, just throwing and catching, just being around each other. And it's more than just throwing and catching too. It's getting a sense how they operate and getting to know them. That's part of the connection that we talked about earlier. But we like the guys that are coming back. I mean, Isaiah Johnson and Jones and Gio. I think all 3 of those guys are going to help us. They're going to be in a rotation. They're going to play. And then along with the guys that we brought in, I think they got some great talent. And they seem to be, man, everybody's got great attitudes right now. Like they're hardworking. They care. They're trying to get after it. They're trying to learn. I think we got 3 or 4 jugs machines in there. Then things have been wide open, guys just catching balls. I mean, and then the quarterback's throwing to these guys. So this part of the year, and as we head into spring practice, it's all going to be about everybody getting on the same page. So we've gone back to day one offensively and just really started back from the square one. I mean, because you got new running backs, all the wideouts. The best position as far as returners is the O-line, which is great. And but now we just got to teach all these skill guys exactly what we're trying to do offensively.
Have you ever had a guy average almost 30 yards a catch like Wolford? And how much is that on the coach? Like, that's your responsibility to keep that number up there,
going.
right?
Yeah. I hope he can do it. I mean, shoot. I mean, his film's good now. The thing about him is I've already noticed that he goes hard every snap. Like, everything he does is wide open. He doesn't have hey, we're going to go 75%. Like, he's going 100. He doesn't have the filter with that. So, but I love that. I'd much rather have to say whoa than go. And but, yeah, he's another guy that I think that he's made some big time plays in games last year. A young player. I think his best football is still ahead of him. He'll certainly be in the rotation as well. Got to find ways to get him. I think the other thing he can do is, run the ball. The guy can come back in the backfield and do some of the jet sweep stuff and even run the football out of the backfield.
You've mentioned offensive line a couple times. For whatever you can share with us, what's the plan at center, and then how does that affect potentially guard and how this thing plays out?
Yeah. I mean, we're going to have to wait and see. I mean, we're going to work some guys in there. Taryn's going to play it. Evan's going to play some center. Wheelock's going to play some center. So I think probably 4 or 5 guys will be rotating in there. Lozo's going to be playing some guard, maybe some tackle right there. I just think we got to try to find the best 5 guys that will help that unit. We always like to play at least 7 guys anyway, so we try to rotate some guys in. Lozo's going to be a guy I think that'll play for sure somewhere. I mean, I think he's had a great time since he's been here. Judea's going to be a guy we hope continues to come along. Like, it's time for him to play. Nolan is another guy I think it's time to play. So yeah, I mean, I think for us is the two spots really are going to be the right tackle spot and the center. Like, all right, who's going to be the two guys we need to put in those two spots when you talk about up front? But the good news is we got several guys to look at for those spots.
What's the luxury of having your left side though, with Cotton and with Tengestal kind of solidified?
Yeah, I mean, they're arguably two of the best in the country when it comes to a guard tackle combination. They both have great size. They're both strong. Now, having Cotton with a whole year under his belt at this level, they're both experienced. To me, they should only get better. I think. I tell you what else they're doing right now. They're leading. They learned a great deal from Gavin last year, Taryn and Cotton and Evan, being around him. He was out here yesterday. We're doing some drills on the field, and he's just kind of observing. But the legacy he left here was, particularly in that room, was tremendous. Because you can always see those guys just leading just like Gavin did. Obviously he'll be missed, but I think we're in good hands with those guys up front now. And really the strength of our team, the strength of the leadership of our team is from those guys up front.
One more for Coach.
Feels like about every day in the portal, you guys were adding a running back, and I was kind of surprised to see how many. It looks like you have 4 guys who have a chance to be the running back one. Which one of those guys do you think has maybe the best traits or the most outstanding traits that you saw on film?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think it really is wide open. And Zion's just not going to give it away either. Like day one, we start practice, he'll be the running back. I mean, he knows what we're doing. He's been here. But these other guys have played a lot. And I think they're going to bring something different to the table. Payne's a big guy. Who hopefully can run through some tackles. Tab's not very big, but he can run. And he's got good strength for a guy that's not very big. Perry's played a ton of football, even in the special teams. He's been a huge aspect in return game, was one of the best in the country a couple years ago. That to me, I love the depth in that room, so we'll see how that pans out. And you guys know, I mean, we've played a lot of running backs over the years. We try to find guys that can go in and play and help us, and hopefully there's not a drop-off there. I feel like you got to continue to stack those guys in that room because guys get dinged up and injured when you think about the running back room.
How much does it mean for a program when you have a guy like Kobe Bryant out there winning a Super Bowl and being a prominent member of that team?
That was very cool. It was awesome, man. Watched the game and really watching him, I thought he had an outstanding game. And I've met him obviously a few times coming up here. Great person, great human being. Has all the qualities that you want. Not only a great player, but he's got the other stuff that you want, the leadership qualities, and he does things right, and so it's not a surprise that he's had the kind of career he's had in the NFL so far. He's a winner, and winners win, and that's what he's doing. And it was fun to see, man, as their defense, that's what they were known for all season, and he's a big part of that defense there.
Sometimes it's okay not to go for the pick and just lay somebody out.
Yeah, he could have had that pick there, but he was head hunting, it looked like, on that particular play for sure.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
No, you want to ask me a question?
Hey, what's up, fellas?
How you doing?
Defensive coordinator Nate Woody. Questions?
Can you just talk about getting back with Coach Satterfield and getting a chance to show your defense at a Big 12 level?
You know what? I was at a college for a long time, Wofford College, and I loved it there. And when I got to meet Sat at Appalachian State back in the day, I really enjoyed meeting him. And then when I went to go work for him, I loved working for him. Just a great guy. We sort of had our same views in line as far as the type of quality. Character that we were looking for, and how he handles business, and just really enjoyed working with him for 5 years there. So to leave where I was very happy to go work for him, meant something. And then to come back here and work with him means something. It's a great guy to work for. He's got a great culture here, and I think that the first thing you better answer on a football team nowadays is culture. You've got a lot of transfers coming in that you want to do right by them, and you want them to do right by you and their teammates. So yeah, I'm looking forward to working with them and this team.
Can you take us through kind of all the unique names of the positions in like kind of like the linebacker core? I think I've heard Apache, and Sat just said that the Sam is going to be the cat.
Yeah, I'm not. I've been running this defense for a long time, and there's times where we may change names. When I go from one school to the other. Haven't been to a lot of different schools, but it just seems like that the edge rusher. From the boundary, he's going to be the guy that probably rushes the quarterback probably somewhere around 70% of the time, drops in coverage 30%. We'll call him the dog. All right, he's going to get after the quarterback the majority of the time. He's going to blitz. The outside linebacker, I'm old school, so whether you call that outside guy to the field a linebacker or a nickel or whatever, I'm going to call him a linebacker. All right, an outside backer. So we're going to call him the cat, all right? So that cat is going to be in coverage a little bit more. He's going to be in coverage probably somewhere around 65, 70% of the time, and then he'll rush the quarterback, the other times. Just like anybody else as far as the two inside linebackers. So Mike is going to be to the field or to the strength of the formation that we see, and the Will is the other inside linebacker, maybe a little bit better in coverage, that can walk out on a number 2 receiver at times and play for us there. Up front, that nose is I don't know many times where we had a bad defense if we had a nose that could demand a double team. You get the guy up there, and if he is making plays, through either A gap, then you're in business. If they got to put 2 blockers on him and they don't get movement on him, then generally our defense has been really good. All right. The one to the field is an end. He'll put his hand down, and sometimes he may stand up in some situations, but most of the time he'll play with his hand down. The other defensive lineman into the boundary we call our tackle. All right, and sometimes he could line up over an offensive tackle, over a guard, or sometimes over the center. So corners, we'll go through an evaluation process, but sometimes I'll play with a field corner and a boundary corner. Sometimes it's just left and right. We'll see how things go. And then the safety to the field is our strong safety, and our safety into the boundary is our free safety.
You've been at Army for 5 years, so you've kind of missed the transfer portal explosion, right? And not something.
No, we had a ton of guys transfer out of Army.
I mean, out of like you guys aren't mining the portal, right? How different is it coming in and knowing like maybe half of these guys on defense weren't here last year?
Yeah, I think 6 years at Army. The first year I got there, was a COVID, and I remember calling my dad. I was leaving Michigan, and I said, "Dad, I'm gonna take the DC job over at Army." And he said, "Great, son. I'm proud of you. I'm gonna pull for you every game but one." So my dad was in the Navy for a little bit, but we got him squared away right. But I remember calling him back after our first practice, and I remember seeing a nose tackle that just a walkthrough, just a little walkthrough, and man, he was so good at picking up stuff and how well he moved. I remember calling my dad back and saying, I think we're going to be pretty good. I think we're going to be all right. And he hadn't played probably 25, 30 snaps, the year before. So you keep your eyes open. There's a linebacker that was there that played 17 snaps, before I got there, and he was going into his senior year. So again, maybe some of the guys didn't think that he was going to process it well enough, or be where he was supposed to be in the scheme of the defense. But he's still playing in the NFL today. So this will be 6 years, for him. An outside linebacker, an edge rusher that didn't play a lick, but man, started the next 3 years for us, and he's playing in the NFL today. So you can move on from one school to the other, and you can start all this stuff, and you got. I was new to them, so now same thing. I'm new to these guys here, and we just want to come together, and we want to build a great culture and make sure that we can depend on one another, and along the way find a scheme that fits the skill sets of the guys that are coming in. So evaluation is a key in my point of view. This spring, we'll compete against our offense, but the big thing for me is about evaluating these guys and getting the right guys, on the field, and getting some packages put together to where we can use, more and more of the guys on the field whenever the opportunity arises.
I know you're obviously busy during seasons, but have you been able to ever keep up with Cincinnati? Have they been on your radar, or is this kind of a new experience learning the football program, learning, the success that they've had over the past 20 years or so?
I remember, I've always understood and realized what a great school Cincinnati was. Always just had an interest in coming here. There's guys that have interest in working here in the past, and would talk about the school to me, and I had a great life at the last school that I was at, and the one before that, and one before that. Everything's been good to me. To come here was a choice to start again and see if we can hopefully build a defense that helps us win ball games, and be in a culture that is just outstanding and fun to come to work every day. And I think, like I said, an awful lot of good things have happened in this short period of time that I've been here. Everybody's been outstanding to meet and greet and to work with. So really looking forward to it.
The weather the last 3 weeks hasn't scared you off?
You know what? That's a great question. I did grow up in the South. My first time out of the South was, as far as work goes, was Michigan, and Michigan was cold, But
You only stayed a year.
What's that?
You only stayed a year.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what. Coach Harbaugh would take the offense outdoors quite often, back that year. And Don Brown, he liked to stay indoors. And I was very appreciative of Coach Brown, in that indoor. So everybody talked to me about what a neat indoor facility we have here. It is outstanding. So I look forward to using it.
You've not only known Sat for a while, but Court Braswell is somebody you also have an existing relationship with. How much has he helped getting to know the players that are here, the guys that are returning, just kind of being an asset on that front?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what. Now, there's a lot of guys on the staff that I've known and worked with over the years. Braz is one of them on defense, and I met him maybe, I guess, just as he was graduating from college years ago. I did a clinic in Tennessee, just outside of Nashville, I think, and he came to the clinic I was speaking at, and out of all the guys in that room, he stood out, and I remembered him over everybody. Just incredibly bright, outstanding personality. Just he's a guy that's going to be a head coach one day. He's going to be a great one. He's going to be a DC, and I'm just fortunate that I get to work with him again. But I've known him for an awful long time, and incredible not only football IQ, but just a sharp individual. So, am I looking forward to working with him? Absolutely, no doubt. Robert Nunn is working with our edge guys, and I knew Robert when he was over at Appalachian State, but he worked with some guys that I'd worked with years before, and just did a tremendous job. I remember sending our part of our defensive staff over there to meet with him because their stunts just seemed to be better than anywhere else in the country as far as the vertical push and the timing of the switch. It was just really good. So known him for a number of years. Nick Cardwell is on the offensive side. Pete is on the offensive side. Coach Stepp, known him for a long time. Offensive side. So a lot of those guys on the offensive side, and a few of them on defense. So it feels like home.
Your defense had 18 interceptions in 2024. What is it about that defense or this defense in general that makes that a possibility? Because you've seen the struggles here at Cincinnati with the 3-3-5 and not really getting those turnovers.
Well, a couple of things. I want to have a defense that can hopefully make it a little bit difficult on a quarterback to know where he's going with the ball. Hopefully, he's got to read through a number of progressions. Hopefully, we've got a pressure that can get to the quarterback before he gets to his final progression. If I think when I was at App State, we had a ton of interceptions. We had like 18 interceptions and top 10 in the country in there. I think at Wofford we had 44 takeaways. One year we won a lot of ball games because of that. At Army there was had about 18 picks, and a big part of it is somehow making the quarterback pay if he makes a mistake. So if that ball bounces off your hands or goes through your hands, then you didn't make him pay for that mistake, and they still get another chance to continue to drive. So hopefully we'll have some guys that can execute the defense really well, and when they get their opportunity, they'll put the ball away, and we'll make the most of it.
Is there anything specifically that you do to teach that kind of ball hunting mindset to kind of lead to the stats of 18 interceptions?
I think one of the things that I do is I trust our staff. I was talking to our staff a little bit years ago. In the early years when I was a coordinator, I had to do every single thing myself. I had to draw every card, scheme, script. Everything had to be exactly through me. And I went and visited with a guy that in the NFL down in Florida, and I talked with him a little bit about I needed some help with some coverages and especially red zone and then practice opportunities, and he gave me great advice. He said you got to make sure you involve your staff more. You can get as good as you are, but the staff, all of them together can really be better than any one person. And so I took his advice, and I think what I do is a good job of listening to the ideas of other coaches on the staff and give them responsibilities that they do very well with. And over the years, I've been fortunate to work with really good